All right, so we are ditching those resolutions, those New Year's resolutions everybody makes,
Yes.
and diving into something way more refreshing, the reset. And we're exploring this idea based on an email newsletter
Oh, cool.
that you shared called IPL Tag 1010. Let's break up with resolutions because resets are better than regrets.
Okay.
So if those January goals already feel like a distant memory,
Hmm.
you are definitely in the right place.
The newsletter's title itself is so intriguing.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does feel like a shift, like we are kind of moving away from that rigid structure of
Yeah.
resolutions
Yeah.
and embracing something way more flexible,
Yeah.
something that acknowledges that like life rarely actually goes according to plan.
Exactly. And that's what this newsletter dives into. It starts with this really relatable Dear Diary entry where the author is basically admitting that, their resolutions usually bite the dust by February.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're reading my mind.
Yeah.
Who hasn't been there?
It's a really clever way to connect with the reader right off the bat.
Yeah.
We've all been there. We've all experienced that disappointment.
Oh, yeah.
You set these lofty goals and then you just kind of fall short.
Yeah.
But what's interesting here is like the shift in perspective. Like
Yeah.
instead of focusing on the failure,
Right.
the newsletter is really encouraging us to reframe those setbacks
Yeah.
as opportunities for a reset.
I love that. And get this, they compare resolutions to the Titanic.
Whoa.
Like setting sail with all those grand expectations,
Uh-huh.
only to be sunk by, life's unexpected icebergs.
Okay, I see that analogy is so powerful because it really highlights that inherent flaw in the way we often approach self-improvement, right? Like we set these really rigid goals without actually accounting for the inevitable challenges and distractions that are going to come our way. Those icebergs, they're not just external obstacles either.
Right.
They can even be internal struggles too, like procrastination or self-doubt.
Absolutely. It's like that old saying, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans.
Exactly.
And speaking of distractions, the newsletter even throws in this like cheeky little reference to fried chicken as a potential temptation,
Oh, yeah.
that can derail healthy eating goals.
I love that. I see what they did there. It's like a humorous way to acknowledge that we're all human.
Yeah.
And those cravings can be so tough to resist.
For sure.
But it's also a subtle reminder that sometimes those failures are just part of the process.
Yeah.
It's not about being perfect. It's about making progress. And that includes learning from those missteps.
Yeah, and then there's this quick facts section that is both fun and insightful.
Right.
It compares life to a level in Super Mario Bros.
I love that analogy. So brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. In Super Mario Bros., you are constantly facing challenges. You're falling into pits, getting hit by enemies, but you never give up.
Right.
You just hit the reset button and you try again. You learn from each mistake.
Exactly. And just like Mario collects power-ups along the way,
Mm-hmm.
the newsletter suggests that, there are resources and tools that can really help us on our reset journey.
Yeah.
And that's where this episode gets really interesting.
Okay.
They recommend a bunch of podcasts that dive into all different aspects of personal growth and overcoming challenges.
It's like they're providing us with like a toolkit,
Right.
for navigating life's ups and downs.
Mhm.
Each podcast is offering us this unique perspective
Uh-huh.
and a set of strategies to really embrace change, develop that resilience, and ultimately become the best versions of ourselves.
All right, so the first podcast they recommend is The Underdog Protagonist, hosted by Pratyush. I love the title already.
It definitely grabs your attention. And
Yeah.
it speaks to like such a universal experience,
Yeah.
that feeling of like working so hard but still feeling stuck. Like
Uh-huh.
you're not the main character in your own life.
Totally. The newsletter describes it as a podcast for anyone who feels like they're, constantly playing second fiddle.
Right.
It seems like it's all about empowering yourself to kind of step into the spotlight, own your story, and make things happen.
I think that's a crucial element of the reset concept too.
Yeah.
Recognizing that we actually do have the power to
Right?
change our narrative. It's not about waiting for things to happen to us. It's about actively shaping our experiences and pursuing our goals.
Next up is The Dream with Niraj show, hosted by Niraj Vaid.
Oh, dreams. There's such a fascinating window into our subconscious desires and fears.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to hear how this podcast connects the exploration of dreams to like personal growth and self-discovery.
Well, according to the newsletter, Niraj chats with all sorts of people, experts, dreamers, influencers,
Okay.
And they delve into topics like interpreting dreams, understanding our subconscious motivations, and then using that knowledge to achieve our goals.
It sounds like a journey into like the inner workings of our minds, you know,
Right.
which can be incredibly powerful in the context of a reset. Sometimes the biggest obstacles we face are the ones that we create for ourselves.
Right.
You know, those limiting beliefs and self-doubt that hold us back. So exploring our dreams might offer like valuable insights into those internal barriers.
For sure. The next recommendation is Wired In with Sanand Warrior.
Okay, now this one sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
The newsletter mentions that Sanand really focuses on lessons learned through hard work and, importantly, trial and error.
Yes.
That resonates with the whole reset philosophy.
Well,
Doesn't it embracing those setbacks as valuable learning experiences?
absolutely. It sounds like Sanand shares his own journey in advertising, marketing, and branding with a focus on like the realities of building a career, the ups, the downs, and everything in between.
Yeah, it's a reminder that success is rarely linear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are going to be detours and roadblocks along the way.
Right.
But it's how we navigate those challenges that ultimately defines our journey.
Yeah, and this seems like a good place to mention another podcast that caught my eye. Your Voice with Yuva Karnika. It's all about finding your authentic voice, even amidst like the chaos and pressures of modern life.
That's such a crucial aspect of personal growth, too, you know?
Yeah.
Embracing who you truly are with all your quirks and imperfections.
Right.
It seems like this podcast encourages like this gentle approach to self-discovery, you know, reminding us that it's okay to slow down, reconnect with ourselves, and celebrate our uniqueness.
Exactly. And I love how they emphasize that we are enough just as we are.
Yes.
It's so easy to get caught up in the comparison game, constantly striving to be someone we're not. This podcast seems like such a breath of fresh air, reminding us to embrace our individuality.
And that self-acceptance is essential for a successful reset.
Right.
You know, if we're constantly beating ourselves up for past mistakes or comparing ourselves to others,
Yeah.
it's going to be that much harder to move forward with confidence and purpose.
Okay, now for something a little different, Candid Confessions of Indian Musicians and Sound Engineers, hosted by Aditya Mehta. It sounds like a really cool behind-the-scenes look at the music industry.
Music has such a profound impact on our emotions and our lives.
Yeah.
I wonder how this podcast ties into the concept of reset.
From what I gather, Aditya interviews experienced musicians and sound engineers who share their real-life experiences,
Okay.
including the challenges they faced and lessons they've learned along the way. It seems like a great example of how even in creative fields, there's a lot of trial and error,
Uh-huh.
a lot of resetting involved.
That's an interesting perspective. We often think of creativity as like this effortless flow of inspiration.
Right.
But the reality is it's often a really messy process full of setbacks and revisions.
Right, and hearing from those who have navigated the ups and downs of the music industry could be incredibly inspiring for anyone, regardless of their profession.
Right.
It's a reminder that we all face challenges,
Yeah.
and it's our resilience and adaptability that allow us to overcome them.
And it highlights the fact that resetting isn't just about personal growth. It's a valuable skill in any field.
Yeah.
Whether you're a musician, an entrepreneur, or simply someone trying to navigate the complexities of life, the ability to adapt, learn from mistakes, and try again is so essential.
Okay, so we've covered, some really insightful podcasts.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, I kind of want to circle back to the newsletter itself.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in these amazing recommendations
Mhm.
and forget the core message.
It's all about shifting our perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like letting go of that rigid New Year's resolution mentality and embracing the idea of resets.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that, life throws curveballs, and sometimes we need to adjust our course.
Yeah.
It's not about striving for perfection, but allowing ourselves to learn and grow from those inevitable setbacks.
And the newsletter really emphasizes the importance of self-compassion
Oh, yeah.
in that process. We tend to be so hard on ourselves when we don't achieve our goals right away. But the reset approach encourages us to be kinder to ourselves, to acknowledge that we're doing the best we can with the resources that we have at any given moment.
I think that's such a valuable takeaway. It's so easy to get caught up in that all or nothing mindset,
Right.
But the truth is, progress isn't always linear.
Mm-hmm.
There are going to be ups and downs, detours, and unexpected obstacles along the way, and that's okay.
It's about embracing the journey, with
Yeah.
all of its imperfections and surprises, and
Mhm.
remembering that each reset is an opportunity to learn,
Right.
to adjust, and to come back even stronger. It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose how we respond to those challenges.
That's such a powerful way to frame it. So instead of focusing on what we didn't accomplish,
Yeah.
we can ask ourselves,
Yeah.
what did I learn from this experience? How can I use this setback to propel myself forward?
Exactly. And sometimes a reset might simply be like a shift in perspective,
Right.
a reframing of our goals, or like a renewed sense of purpose. It doesn't have to be this dramatic overhaul of our lives.
Hmm.
It's about making these small adjustments along the way that allow us to stay aligned with our values and aspirations.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Right.
I'm curious to hear what area of your life, dear listener,
Yeah.
could benefit from a reset right now. It could be anything, your career, your relationships, your health, your creative pursuits, or even just your overall mindset.
Take a moment to reflect on what feels a bit stuck or out of balance.
Yeah.
What aspects of your life could use a fresh perspective, a renewed sense of energy, or maybe a little bit more self-compassion?
And remember, the reset button is always there.
Mhm.
You have the power to press it whenever you need to.
Mm.
And who knows, maybe this year, instead of lamenting those broken resolutions, you'll find yourself celebrating a series of successful resets,
Yeah.
each one bringing you closer to the life you truly desire.
So go out there, embrace the journey, and remember progress over perfection every day is a new opportunity for growth and transformation.
Said it better myself. And hey, if Mario can conquer those tricky levels with a little help from the reset button, we can definitely conquer our goals too, right? Until next time, happy resetting.